gone 2 weeks without any Premier Padel tournaments, but the padel world hasn't stopped. We got to see Tapia and Chingotto play together in the Pro Padel League, Cepero acting like a bullfighter, and almost fight between France and Italy, and much more. And this week Premier Padel is finally back in Egypt, but Tapia and Coello won't be playing. Why? Is their #1 ranking in danger? Hello everyone, I'm Pablo and I welcome you to a new 4Set. A few days ago, the FIP Platinum in Lyon took place, where Alex Ruiz and Juan Luis beat Tello and Edu Alonso in the final. The best players in the world didn't play that tournament, but there was a pretty unusual point, so check out what Javi Garrido did. Por 3 más that his rival couldn't recover from a bajada, well, super addictive to watch. Also this week we finally got an answer to the question about that youngest shooter of the world thanks to ganar la red.
Pegué un culetazo para impulsarme rápido a bloquear la de revés. Mira, te lo voy a explicar. Mira, jugamos en Milán, la de bola salía mucho, entonces Coqui tiró un globo cruzado y Guille Collado yo pensé que le pegaba, ¿vale? Entonces yo me pegué a la verja para que no me diese. Entonces cuando la dejó pasar, pensé que iba a salir de pared rápido y pegué un culetazo para impulsarme rápido a bloquear la de revés.
But last week we had the European, Pan American and Asian Padel Championship all happening at the same time. And before checking which teams won in each continent, Italy and France face off in the group stage. France had lost to the Netherlands and needed to beat Italy to make it to the semifinals. That series was tied 1-1, and in the third and decisive match this happened.
Árbitro dice que entró. Casi le vuelas la cabeza a mi amigo.
Well, that's a really sad scene to see in an European Championship, to be honest. But what stood out was the level shown by the different national teams, and for the first time that I can remember, Spain lost a set in the European, one against Portugal and another against the Netherlands. It's true that Spain didn't bring their main squad because they played with Sbri, Ale Ruiz, Victor Ruiz, Leal, Cepero, Diestro, Gala and Paul Hernandez. So Spain qualified for the final by beating the Netherlands 2-0, and there they face Portugal, which in my opinion is currently the second best European team by a good margin. Actually, in recent years it seems like Italy, Sweden or France were catching up, but big respect to Portugal, led by the Deus brothers. Alex Ruiz and Juan Luis beat the Deus brothers 6-4, 7-5 in the first match and really suffering for it. And just look how Alex celebrated that win. And then Leal and Cepero sealed the deal against Araujo and Graca 6-4, 6-4. Check out how that match point was left on the bench and the celebration that followed. But if there was one standout celebration, it was from the MVP of the final, Álvaro Cepero. But huge respect to Portugal, who took the silver medal and earned the admiration of everyone in the stands. It's clear that the gap between Spain and the rest of Europe is still big, but with Spain's B team is getting harder and harder for them to dominate. But it was not just the European Championship, but the Pan American was also played. And there, Argentina did something similar, bringing a B team with Livac, Rama, Valenzuela, Dalbianco, Arce, Piotto, Rubini, and Maxi Sanchez Blasco. For Argentina, though, the tournament went smoothly. They reached the final against Brazil and without much suffering won 6-3, 6-2 with Arte and Maxi Sanchez and 6-3, 6-4 with Livaca and Rama. I will say it's clear that European padel is a notch above South American padel, obviously excluding Argentina. But we will get to really see that next year in the World Championship because I cannot wait to that. This week we also had the Asian Championship, the weakest of the three in terms of level. The UAE won with Enrique Goenaga and Nacho Vilariño in the lineup, beating Qatar 2-1. But my respect to Qatar for showing up with 100% Qatari team. Still, the most important competition happened on Instagram because I launched this mass battle to let the community vote for the player with the best smash. I picked the 16 best smashers on paper and people vote for who deserves to move to the next round. We broke records with more than 800,000 votes and this was how the bracket ended up. There were tight first round matches like Cardona versus Garrido or Stupa versus Lamperti. But things got really interesting in the quarterfinals with duels like Lebron versus Galán won by the Madrid player 78-22 or Coello Leal won by Arturo 81-19. In the semifinals, Tapia faced Galán with a win for the Mozart by 73-27 and Osburger beat Coello by 74-26. So we have the dream final between Tapia and Osburger to decide who's the better ice smashing, but who do you think should win because the vote ended 50-50 by percentage, even though one of them got 120 more votes, a ridiculous difference. But with the title of the best master decided, it's time for a new Premier Padel tournament, the Giza P2. And it's a special one because Tapia and Coello won't be playing. Well, why, Pablo? Simple, they prefer to rest. Remember that the ranking counts only the 22 best results of the year. That means if you play 30 tournaments, only your 22 best results count. But since Tapia and Coello, like several other players, didn't play in Gijón or Cancun, by skipping Egypt, they will end the season with 21 tournaments in total. So, if they do finish the year as number 1, they will have done it with one tournament less than CHINGALAN. Because CHINGALAN are going to Egypt and they are under maximum pressure. Right now, they are 2,080 points behind Tapia and Coello in the race. So if CHINGALAN win in Egypt, they will close the gap to 1,480 points. And what happens after Giza? We got the World Championship for pairs in Kuwait, which gives as many points as a major. So if CHINGALAN win in Egypt and also in Kuwait, assuming Tapia and Coello reach the final, the gap will drop to just 680 points. And if the same thing happens again in Dubai, the gap will shrink to only 280 points with just 2 tournaments left in the season. So what has to happen for CHINGALAN to finish the season as number 1? Well, if they win in Egypt and Kuwait, it will depend entirely on them. If they don't, they will depend on Tapia and Coello's results, and that mission will be almost impossible. That is why Egypt is so important for CHINGALAN and why they are the clear favorites to win the tournament. But luck didn't smile on them in the draw because they got the toughest bracket possible. In the first round they faced Sanjo and Gonzalo Alfonso, who have beaten the Neonanas Burger twice. In the quarters, CHINGALAN could face the Burger. In the semis, Koki Yanguas, and in a potential final, Lebron and Stupa. Stupa, by the way, is the pharaoh of Premier Padel because he's won this tournament twice already. In 2022 with Lima against Lebron and Galán, and in 2024 with Yanguas against Garrido and Bergamino. So will Stupa pull off the hat-trick or will CHINGALAN get it done and win in Egypt? Because on the other side of the draw, Lebron and Stupa are the clear favorites to reach the final. They face Garrido and Campa in the round of 16, Leal and Bergamini in the quarters, and either Paco Jon or Edu Tello in the semis. Remember, the Egypt tournament is played outdoors and that can be tricky. Because in the first edition, Dineno had to retire due to heat stroke and the humidity always kicks in when night falls. CHINGALAN need to win in Egypt no matter what if they want to reach Kuwait with pressure on Tapia and Coello. Will that extra pressure affect CHINGALAN? Do you see them capable of winning in Egypt and then in Kuwait? Drop your prediction in the comments because now we are entering the most exciting part of the season. So, who will be number one? Well, thank you so much for watching the video and see you in the next one. Ciao!